Not medically necessary. Ah, those three little words. If you work at medical billing, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You see this denial all the time, and it can feel like a total dead end. But guess what? It's not. Today, we are going to turn this frustrating roadblock into a puzzle that you can actually solve using a clear step-by-step guide. So, if you're in billing or AR follow-up, you've probably seen this denial more times than you can even count. It can feel like some kind of mysterious black box, right? Well, I promise you, by the end of this quick explainer, you're going to have a systematic workflow to tackle it and win, every single time.
So, what even is a medical necessity denial? Well, at its core, it just means the payer doesn't see the connection. They're looking at the why, that's the patient's diagnosis, and the what, the service you provided, and they're just not seeing how they link up. Our job, it's to connect those dots for them so clearly that it's just impossible to miss.
Okay, here's our game plan. We'll start with what medical necessity even means from the payer's perspective. Then, we'll jump right into our action plan, gathering some info, calling the payer, getting those medical records, and then, the final step, a coding review. Let's dive in.
First things first, what exactly is medical necessity? The key here is to stop seeing it as just a flat-out rejection. Think of it more like a communication breakdown. The payer is basically telling you, hey, we're missing the proof we need to pay this. So our job is just to give it to them.
So why do payers even send these denials? Well, this slide breaks it down. It could be a simple mismatch between the procedure and diagnosis codes. Sometimes they think a service is experimental, but most of the time, it's either a lack of documentation or not meeting these things called local coverage determination, or LCD guidelines. Figuring out why it was denied is your first step to getting it paid.
All right, let's get into our first action phase, gathering your info. And I really can't stress this enough. Doing your homework before you call the insurance company is everything. Seriously, walking into that conversation armed with all the right details is going to completely change the outcome.
This pre-call checklist right here, this is your foundation. It's simple, but it's so important. First, find that specific claim number and the denial date. Next, double-check the exact CPT or procedure code that was billed. And finally, just take a quick look at any previous notes on the account. This way, you have the full story right at your fingertips before you even think about picking up that phone. Okay, you've done your homework. Now it's time to actually call the payer. And remember, this isn't just a regular call, it's a structured investigation. You have one goal here. Find out exactly what you need to do to get this denial overturned. That's it. Now, the questions you ask on this call shouldn't just be random. You want to base them on industry standard guides. A lot of people call them denial cheat sheets, just like the one you see here. If you look at the section for not medically necessary, you can see the exact questions we need to be asking.
These right here, these are your golden questions. First, just confirm the basics, the denial date, claim number, and always get a call reference number. Then you hit them with the most important question. Can we send medical records to prove necessity? And you immediately follow that up with, okay, what specific records do you need? Don't forget to ask about those LCD guidelines, and always get the appeal info, the deadline, the address, and the fax number.
All right, as soon as you hang up that phone, your mission is crystal clear. The focus now shifts from investigating them to taking action inside your own organization. Because thanks to that call, you now know exactly what proof the payer needs to see.
So, what's your next move? It's simple. You're going to request the specific documents the payer literally just asked for. See, you're not guessing anymore. You are fulfilling a direct request, and believe me, this targeted approach makes it so much more likely you're going to get paid.
Now, in most systems, this means you'll raise what's called an information request, or an IR. And you need to be specific. Based on what the rep told you, ask for the exact documents they need. 9 times out of 10, the operative notes, that's the OP notes, and the history and physical notes, or H&P, are going to be the key pieces of evidence you're looking for.
And here we are at the final stage. You've done the investigation, you've gathered the evidence, now it's time for an expert review before you even think about sending anything back to the payer. Just think of it as your final quality check.
What you've essentially done is build a complete case file. On one side, you've got all the payer's denial info. On the other, you have the exact medical records that counter it. It's a full package now, and it's ready for that final professional review.
Okay, this last step is super simple, but it is absolutely vital. You're going to compile everything, the denial details, your call reference number, those OP and H&P notes, and you're going to send that whole package over to your coding team. They're the experts who can make sure the documentation totally supports the codes and that your appeal is as rock solid as possible.
All right, let's zoom out for a second and just look at the system we've built here. This isn't about getting lucky, it's about having a process you can repeat over and over again to turn these common denials into actual payments.
I like to think of this workflow as a two-part harmony. First, you've got your payer-facing actions. That's the investigation part, where you're gathering intelligence. Then, you have your internal-facing actions. That's where you gather the evidence. When both of those parts work together perfectly, that's when you get the claim paid.
Look, if you only remember one thing from all of this, make it this simple three-step workflow. Number 1, investigate. Ask the payer those targeted questions. Number 2, document. Go get the specific medical records they need. And number 3, resolve. Send the whole package to your coding experts for that final review. That's it. That is how you master medical necessity denials.
And that really brings us to our final thought. We've just walked through a clear, methodical process from start to finish. So you have to ask yourself, is your current denial workflow this systematic? And if it's not, what's just one piece from this guide that you can start using tomorrow? Thanks so much for watching.